Are you thinking about adding stages by SimLab to your Matterport digital twins? Do you have a client in the AEC space that uses Matterport that wants to add stages? Would you like a deep dive onboarding demo of Matterport Plus stages by SimLab? Stay tuned. Hi all, I'm Dan Smigrod, founder of the We Get Around Network Forum. Today is Wednesday, September 18th, 2024. You're watching WGAN TV Live at 5, a podcast for digital twin creators shaping the future of real estate today. We have an awesome show for you. How to get started with SimLab stages, a deep dive, onboarding, training demo. Our subject matter expert is SimLab Stages product owner, Robert Charlevsky. Robert, thanks for being on the show.
Hi there, thank you so much for having me on the show. It's a real pleasure to be here. I'm grateful for the opportunity to join today.
Thank you, Robert. For today's show, we will assume that our viewers are already a pro with Matterport and have watched previous WGAN TV podcast shows about SimLab stages. Those are viewable at www.wgan.info/SimLab on WGAN. Robert, by the end of today's show, what are the highlights of what we will have learned about how to do Matterport Plus stages by SimLab?
Yeah, well, the goal of today's session is to familiarize you with the key functionalities of the stages, which will help you your daily work and improve project management efficiency. And if I may, a few words about the agenda prepared by me. So first of all, a brief presentation of existing project to show you how the complete setup looks like in stages. Then detailed walkthrough on the basic functionalities, and here are a few words about it. I would like to tell you about the completed project, then creating organization, creating a project, adding components, scan synchronization, then adding notes, attaching material to notes, which is also very important, sharing a project, and at the end, some additional features and tips. So that's what I would like to tell you about during this session.
That's great. Can you show us a finished example of a Matterport tour powered by SimLab stages so we kind of know where we're headed in today's training?
Sure, of course. Let me share my screen.
Great. And while Robert is sharing his screen, a couple of websites, simlabinc.com is the home website. You can also go to the SimLab Stages microsite, sim-stages.com. And again, to see previous episodes of WGAN TV podcast, it's wgan.info/SimLab on WGAN. Great. I'm looking at your screen.
Great. So as you can see, I'm displaying at this moment the web version of stages because, as you probably know, in SimLab we are developing two versions, web and desktop. And today, during today's session, I would like to focus on the web version of the stages. I will mention about the differences between those two versions a bit later, but right now, using the web version, I would like to show you ready project. And I will use the project showing our office here in Poland. So after the clicking on the tile on the dashboard, system takes you directly to the project, so you can see the list of the stages with the dates of the creation, with the simple filters and some additional features. But the most important parts are placed here in this view because we have three tabs: stage info, notes, and Matterport. So if I click the Matterport, which is probably the most interested for you, you will see the scans of our office here. So that's how it works. We can move through it. And in this view, I mean, on the tab with the Matterport scan, we placed the three most important features. The timeline, which is available here. So using the timeline, we can easily jump between stages and see the differences between them. Then we have a compare view button, which allows the user easily comparing the differences between stages in one view. And the last but not least, our issue manager or our tool for communication with the rest of the users involved in project, I mean the annotations. So this is the ready project. As you can see, I can easily moving through scan. I can jump between the particular stages, and that's how the ready project looks like. The most important thing, I guess, is the synchronization, which allows us to keeping the same point of view during when we jumping between different stages. That's because our synchronization mechanism. Of course, there is a tab with the notes. This tab listed all the notes and issues placed in a particular stage, and the stage info contains the information about this particular stage, some information, short resume about the number of the notes and issues, and the list of the components added to the particular stage. Dan, any questions to this part? Would like to see
actually, it
more
sounds
details?
great. Yeah, Robert, it looks like what you showed me are three key features of SimLab stages. First, the timeline feature. Second, a split screen compare Matterport at one point of time to Matterport shot at a different point of time. Three was the communications features. And then I think as an added bonus, you showed notes. So I'm expecting that by the end of today's training, I'll know how to create all that on the SimLab stages back end.
Exactly. That's the goal of our today's meeting, I guess. Okay, so as I understand, we can move forward and start to working with our project. Let me log out from this session, and I will start with the quite new and fresh account. Okay. So this is the quite new account. It's totally empty, as you can see. There is no organization, there is no projects. And the first thing we have to do to start working with stages, with your scans and the rest of the materials, you have to create organization. And this is very important step because of two reasons. First of all, organization is a kind of your workspace when you will place your projects, your all detailed information. So without organization, you will be not able to do anything in stages. The second thing is that if someone will decide to buy a subscription plan, then this user have to remember that subscription plan is by per organization. So that's why creating organization is very important, and in most cases, it's required to work with stages. Creating organization is quite simple because you can do this in two ways. We can click a button Add Project, and then we get the information that first we have to create an organization, then we go to organization button, or we can also go to organizations menu and here click the button Add Organization. Let's name it test.org.
Robert, would it be helpful to think about an organization if I have if I'm using SimLab stages because I own many different buildings? Am I thinking about it in that this is building one as an organization, or no? I'm thinking about it. This is my company, and I'll be inviting people to my organization to view our projects.
You should consider organization is in stages like your company, because in organization you can put a lot of projects. a lot of projects. So you're creating organization as a kind of container for your projects.
Okay, I'm clear on that.
As you saw, I just create an organization named test.org, and then you can equip this this organization with some additional information. With the description, you can add the picture for it, and here is the menu with some additional items, users, organization roles, teams, and so on, so on. But to create a project, the organization must be set up. We just did it, so we can go to the next step, which is creating a project. So I'm getting back to the projects menu. Then I can click button Add Project. Now I have to choose the organization which will carry the project from the selector. Confirm. And we have another window with the forms to creating a project. So I will put the name of the project right now. Okay. There is a field for a description of the project. We can add a picture for it for easier recognitions. And then we can also put the address for it, the location. This is the part integrated with the Google Maps. So I can do something like this, for example. Confirm. And our project is created. But the project is empty at this moment. To add the content to the project, we have to add the stages and add the scans to it. So the next step, I'm getting back once more, maybe. We have to click the tile on our dashboard to open the project, and then we can add the stages. Adding stages is also very simple because all you have to do is to click button Add Stage, then put the name of the stage. Let it be the maybe something else. Phase 1, we have to choose the proper date. This date is important because in most cases, this is the date of the scanning session of the object. Okay.
So if I'm doing construction progress, I might have a stage is week 1, a stage is week 2, a stage is week 3, and I would put the actual dates. There might also be a BIM model, for example, and we assign that to a date. So it's essentially, I could think of stages as being when I scan, or when that BIM model is available, or when that floor plan was last done.
That's right. That's right. There is no one single rule how often do the scans, because it depends on the situation. You can do this once a week, once a month. There is no one recipe, if I can say like this, for such a situation. But yes, every stage is some kind of phase of the project. So I just add the one stage, and then I will add the next one. So we just create the stages in our project. But
well,
those
I'm
stages...
confused there. It looks like the dates are kind of backwards there. I would think of maybe I have the dates backwards. I'm thinking that's February 9th. Or is that September 2nd? Help me out, because I think
September 2nd. It's a European date format.
Okay. So for clarification for our US audience, phase 2 is actually 09 is September, 02 is the second day. So phase 2 is actually September 2nd, 2024. Phase 1 is July 3rd, 2024. The
exactly.
dates are handled a little bit differently in Europe than it is in the United States. Okay.
Now we have to equip our stages with scans. To do this, we have to go to the menu Add Component here. And as you can see, we can add scans to this particular project stage. Excuse me. I have to open my note and copy the link for this for the scans here. So we can choose if we would like to use public or private scan. Then we have to put the name for this component, stage 1, for example. And in the last field, we have to put the link to the scan. Great. And one small remark, during this process and during all the work with the scans, we are not downloading the scans to our solution. As you can see, we are only linking it. So the scans are kept safe in the Matterport cloud. We are just taking the link and putting it into our solution. In the same way, I will put the component in a phase 2 stage. So I will copy the hyperlink.
I see there's a gap there in the URL. Yeah.
I have to go back to this document and copy this. Just give me
Oh, there is a gap on that copy and paste there.
Yeah. Okay. So the second component to our stage 2 is added. So we have an organization, we have a project, we have stages in the project, and in every stage we have added scans. And now, very important step, because to get the effect of the synchronization, I mean to get the timeline, the compare view, we have to synchronize the scans one to another. But in the first step, we have to choose our reference scan. This scan will be the reference for the rest of the scans. And to do this, we have to mark this scan as synchronized manually. To do this, we have to go to the menu under 3 dots here next to the component and choose Set as Synchronized. As you can see, the label of the components changed for green, and there is information synced, and that means that you can go to the Matterport tab and see how the component looks like. Yep, that's our first scan on our first stage. Great. Now we can go to the next stage and synchronize this scan with the previous one. To do this, you have to go to the menu under the 3 dots and choose the option Synchronize. The process of synchronization is quite easy, in fact, because all you have to do is to pick up 3 specific points on the scan which is not synchronized, mark them, and then repeating the process on the scan which is already synced. So I will do this at this moment, okay? Okay. There's 1 point. Second. And the last one we will place here. So we mark 3 specific points on the scan which is currently not synchronized. Now we have to choose the scan of our reference scan to proceed with the synchronization. So I have to click the next step button and choose the scan, the stage, which is already synchronized. We have to accept this component for synchronization and repeat the process with the marking the specific points on the scan. So first one was here. The second was here. And the last was here. Now we have to accept the sync. And as you can see, The next, the second second stage is already labeled synced. So both of them are synchronized. The best way to check if the synchronization is okay is to use the split screen or the compare view option. So I will go to the Matterport tab. And from here, I will start our compare view tool. Everything seems to be okay with the synchronization. We can go through the scan. And on both panels, we see the same area of our object. So everything is okay with the synchronization.
Robert, would a best practice be to try and have Matterport scan points be in the same identical location over time, or it's not necessary? If you can, it's great, but if it's not necessary.
No, it's not necessary. The best advice, if I can give you, is to place the specific points for synchronization mechanism so far as it's possible. Yeah, that's why I placed it on the different ends of our building. The they're placed, the better.
Yeah, for clarification, for the synchronization, in order to do this side-by-side split screen view, I'll have the most success of picking 3 locations in phase 1 and that are as far as apart as possible, and then selecting those identical locations in the next phase or the next Matterport scan in order to have the side-by-side view be as best as possible.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
I'm clear on that. That's great.
Great. So we have our scans added, synchronized, organization is created in project and so on. So I think we can go to the next feature I would like to tell you, adding the notes. To add the notes or issues on any other information, we have to click the plus button here at the bottom of the screen, and the notes form will open. And here we have some fields to put some additional information. But first of all, I would like to show you how to place the marker of the note in the XYZ space. To do this, we have to go to the menu under 3 dots here, click the assign a new location, and place the marker of our notes when you want it be. Okay. Now we can change the title of the note, for example, electrical. Oh, sorry. Socket, let it be like this. Then we have to choose if it will be information or issue. In case of issue, we can also set up a status for this issue. It can be pending, in progress, resolved, or unresolved. Let it be in progress. The next selector is a stakeholder. Stakeholder is a very important part because we understand the stakeholder for the node as a person which will be responsible for fixing the problem, for providing with required information, in general, for taking care of the issue, right? Okay, I have to repeat the process because I click the cancel. Yeah, that will be okay. So as the stakeholder, I can drop down the selector and choose someone from the users which are involved in the project. There is a field for a description of the node. So for example, please place a socket here, confirm. And we have, when we can also add some media, some attachments to our node to make them more understandable. So if I click the add attachment here, You will see that I can add a picture from the hard disk of my computer. I can add a video. I can add different docs. Let's do this. I will add a picture. Every added picture to the node will be displayed in the photo tab. But also I can add document like, for example, operation manual or something like this. So I can add it also here. And these documents will appear here in the Docs tab. And it can be downloaded, of course, can be deleted. Also, we can add an audio file from our hard disk. We can add and record audio. For example, hey guys, please fix this problem. The customer will visit us tomorrow. Everything must be working. Now I can add the title, save it, and the voice memo is placed here in the audio tab. The last position on the list of the attachments is a screenshot, and this is quite interesting in my opinion because I can take a screenshot of the view on the screen, but also I can take a screenshot and draw on it. So I can additionally leave some information on the screenshot. With this slider, I can choose the thickness of the line. I can pick up the color for the drawing. I can do something like this. Or, for example, I would like to place over here. If I click the Save button, the screenshot with my manual annotations will be placed in the photo tab. Last field in the node form is a comment, so I can leave the information here, for example, already done. And my command appear here at the bottom. I would like to tell you a few more details about the nodes because this is one of the most important tools in our solution, and why we calling the nodes as a feature for communication. In this menu under three dots, there is a few options like the assigning location, changing title. We can transfer node between stages. We can delete node or copy the URL node to sending via email, for example. But also we can turn on email notifications. If we turn on this option, the small icon of the envelope will appear here. That means that for this particular node, email notification will be sent to the stakeholder and to me as the author of the node. Every change in this particular node will be confirmed with the email notification. So that's the way of the communication using nodes and the built-in mechanism of informations, of notifications. Okay, let's add some more nodes, for example, here.
So I think of this feature as place-based communications. So we're talking about a particular location at a particular point in time to facilitate communications on perhaps something that needs to be changed, fixed, noted by the stakeholder within this particular project.
That's
So
right.
the stakeholders might be the architect, the construction manager, construction foreman, the safety manager, whoever is
Plumbers,
involved in this
electricians.
project. It's a way to have a conversation within the Matterport tour using SimLab stages as an overlay to the Matterport.
Yep, that's right. Okay, So we prepared some notes in our project, in our stage. Those notes are listed here in the Notes tab. As you can see, the Notes tab is equipped with the search tool, so I can search via phrase, for example. Great. And what is also important, the Notes tab display the note's name, author, date of the modification, but on the end of the line with the note information is a small icon of the navigation. If I click this icon, system takes me directly to this note placed in the XYZ space. That's how it works. Okay, so we have an organization. Inside the organization, we have project. We have a project equipped with the stages. Stages are equipped with the scans. We put some notes in the scans, and the split screen tool shows us difference between different stages, and also we can use the timeline because the process of synchronization is okay. So that's how it works. The most important tools in stages. Dan, do you have any questions to this part?
On the location of a note, so I could imagine in a project there could be dozens, hundreds, or even thousands of notes. So this is a way to find your, let's say you want to see all the issues that are related to the author, in this case, you, Robert, but that may have been the safety manager. Show me everything on the safety manager. Show me everything regarding electrical. Show me everything regarding plumbing. Show me everything regarding mechanical. So what I'm seeing is a very robust platform for communication that lets me quickly locate the issues that are important to me. And frankly, it might be I'm considered the stakeholder, and therefore those are the ones I really want to pay attention to. And as I quickly locate where that particular issue is in the building, I can deal with that issue and then put a note back to say that I've completed, I've moved the the electric socket, or I've placed the electric socket, or I've removed something. So far, I think what I've seen you show is how to set up an organization, how to set up a project, how to set up a timeline, how to annotate a space, how to look at a Matterport tour in a split screen view in order to perhaps compare construction progress from week 1 to week 3.
Exactly. And the next thing I would like to tell you about is the sharing the project, because we are telling to all our customers and users that there is a possibility to cooperate in one project for different people, different groups of users. And sharing the project is a functionality which is placed in the organization tab. So here we have a menu users when I can add a new users. And what is important, I can add those new users to my organization, to my project with different levels of permissions. I will switch off to another account here, because this one is quite new without any additional licenses assigned. But for example, here, if I go to the organizations, if I click the button add new user, you will see that the new form appear when I can place the email address of the person I would like to invite. Then I can choose the level of the permission for the person, and at least I can choose the project I would like to invite this particular person. And what is important in this part, if I would like to invite someone as an admin to my organization and to my project, such a person will see all the projects by default. For admin, there is no limitations for the project. But if I choose the project manager, the basic, or even viewer, I can also choose the particular project I would like to invite to such a person. So this is very important to remember that if I will invite someone as an admin, he will be able to see all the projects in my organization. The viewer role is quite specific because to invite someone as a viewer, you don't need to buy a special license for this person. The viewer can see the project, the viewer can see the details of the project, can see the content of the notes, can use timeline split screen, but cannot change anything. That's why such a role doesn't need a special license. You can invite people how many you want using the viewer role. Sharing of the project is also available from another level, if I can say like this. I mean, and now we are touching also already some additional features, which is also on our list of the topics. Because if I will go to the project in the organizations menu and choose from the menu under the three dots project dashboard, you will see that there are three tabs: members, teams, and the public links. The public links is a feature for easy sharing the project, but the receiver of the link doesn't need to create account in Stages, doesn't need to log in. Just open the link and see what's inside. So I can copy this link right now, open the next window, put the link on the address bar, and I can see the project. And the timeline and compare view are also available in a public link mode. But you have to know that in a public link, we can see only the scans. We cannot see the notes, we cannot see the content of the notes. It's just for the browsing the scans of our projects. So that's how the public links works. And if you are about some additional features, I would like to also show you some non-obvious possibilities of the Stages. If I click the login icon here, there's also a small menu, and I can choose the personal settings. And here in personal settings, we can do some additional setup of our organization in Stages. First of all, we can choose the language we would like to use in our organization. At this moment, it can be English, Japanese, Polish, Spanish, and Deutsch, and German. The next tab is appearance. And here we can choose if you would like to use light mode or maybe dark mode. Also, we can set up the type of the timeline, simplified and detailed. In the next tab, we can set up the units. I mean, we can use the metric system or imperial. And at the end of the options is a calendar format when you can choose the European and American date format. I will switch to the light one. Okay. So then that's the most important the features of the Stages. The most crucial, if I can say like this. Without those steps, you cannot use Stages in a normal way, if I can say.
So just to confirm what you've showed us so far are the basic features of SimLab Stages. You showed us how to create an organization, how to create a project, how to add components such as a Matterport scan to a project, Matterport scans. You showed us Matterport scan synchronization, how to add notes, how to attach material to notes such as photo, video, screenshot, annotate a screenshot, and video. And then you also showed us how to share projects. I think that the next things you were going to show us, Robert, were some additional features, some tips and tricks, including generating reports, generating public links, and system preferences.
Yes, I already told you about the public link, but I will show it once again. So we have to go to the organizations tab, choose our organization, go to the projects, and for interesting project, we can choose option project dashboard. And here is a tab with the public link. Creating a public link is quite easy because all you have to do is click the button new link, set the name. Then you can choose, Then you can choose if the link should be always active or maybe active by the date. Let it be active. And at the last position, you can choose the type of the timeline which will be displayed on the public link. So if I click the generate link, okay, it's generated. Now I can copy this link and open it in new window.
And Robert, how is that public link different than inviting someone as a viewer? What would be the different scenarios you would use generate public link or invite as a viewer?
The main difference between public link and inviting someone as a viewer is that in the public link mode, you cannot see the notes. You cannot see the notes, you cannot see the details of the project, cannot see details of the organization. You can just browse the scans placed on the particular stages and use our tools, timeline, and compare view. The viewer role allows the user to see more details. So they can click on the note icon and see all the details of all the content placed in the note. That's the main difference. What is also interesting, public link can be used as a kind of marketing material because you can put the public link in something called the iframe and place it in your website. So we can show a result of your work for all interested people via your website. That's the main differences and usage, if I can say like this, for the public link.
Okay, cool. I'm clear on that.
This was the public link, but also I would like to tell you about the generating report, which is related to the notes. To generate a report, we are still operating in the organizations tab, and from the same menu at the end of the line with the project, we can choose the option generate report. If I click this option, you will see that I can generate this report under different criteria. So I can set up the date range for the notes, or I can set up the stages. I can use every particular stage to create a report or select all, for example. And also I can use some additional filters. So for example, I can generate a report only with unresolved status. And if I click the generate, the system will prepare the report in the background. It will be prepared in a PDF file format, so you can download it, print it as a part of project documentation, or send it via email, or something like this. And you can browse this report. As you can see in the notes equipped with the pictures, those pictures are also placed in the report. There is placed a description, status, and so on, so on. So this is the additional tool for documentation of the process of the project progress.
So just for clarification on that report, Robert, this might be generating a PDF for a electrician who is on site and maybe is used to using a clipboard with the items that need to be punch list that needs to be fixed. And so this essentially is creating that printout clip to be used on a clipboard. And it goes perhaps the next step in that it has the notes that have been generated on that particular clipboard item. Move the electrical socket from here to here.
Exactly. Exactly. That's the purpose, if I can say like this, of the
Privileges,
report.
yeah. So I noticed on that report there were some difference. There was status, completed, uncompleted. Could you take us back to notes and show us perhaps where the electrician might have had been assigned to an item and as the stakeholder, and it was pending or unresolved, and where they changed the status?
Sure. Okay. So here is a list of the nodes. If I click this navigation icon, system takes me to this node placed in a XYZ space in our scan. And here in this window, we can set up or change the current status of the node. We can also change the stakeholder for the node, place some comment at the end of the form. Those comments are displayed at the bottom here. And we can change some more things because I can replace the localization of the node using those menu. I can turn on or off email notifications for the node using those menu, but also which can be also helpful in some situations. We can transfer node between stages. So, for example, at the very beginning of our project, I may prepare the empty stage without scans, place some crucial nodes, crucial information in the form of the nodes, and then when the next stages will appear in the project, I can move the nodes to the further stages. And I can do this in two options. I can choose the stage, of course, to move the nodes, and I can move this node with keeping their localization in the space, or skip it and just move the node to another stage.
So super powerful that you can keep the node in the exact position at a different point in time. So that's cool. Regarding status, help me understand who can change status regarding the different levels of permissions.
Mm-hmm. I will display maybe the different levels of permission or different roles which are available in our solution. So first of all, we have an admin, and admin is a real powerful because he can do almost anything in the organization, in the project. The higher level is only for the owner of the organization, who is able to delete the organization. The rest of the possibilities is the same, like in the admin role.
So
Then we have
I understand admin and I understand viewer. Viewer can't touch anything, but can see everything.
That's right.
Help me understand basic and project manager.
Mm-hmm. Project manager is almost the same role like the admin, but limited to particular project.
Okay. And so the admin may be able to see 10 different projects. The project manager assigned to project to a specific project kind of has admin role, but it's limited to that particular project.
Exactly what you said.
And so then how would basic compare to viewer?
Basic can do some things in the project, but the level of the permissions in the basic role can be changed. So for example, in default setup, basic can create a node, can change the status of his node. He can delete his own node, but he cannot change anything in the nodes for the rest of the users. In a default setup, Basic cannot change the synchronization. So this is the quite basic user, which can add some annotations, add the materials to the nodes, change the status of their own nodes, but cannot touch anyone else materials or nodes, and cannot change the synchronization of the scans, cannot change the name of the stages or project or organization. So this is the basic user. But the basic user is a very interesting role because we can change the level of the permissions for the basic user per every project. So for example, in one project, the basic user cannot change the synchronization, but in some other project, he will do.
So this sounds like there's yet another dashboard you haven't showed us where you get to set what, for example, a basic person can do. If I'm hearing you correctly, is there yet another dashboard for setting system preferences that you want to show us?
You can do this by the level of the particular project. So if I go to the project menu, open the dashboard of the project.
You want to do that? Right now I have you, I just see a side by side, so I don't see screen share. Did you want to share your screen again and perhaps?
I'm still sharing.
Let's see.
I can stop it and start it once again.
Yeah, that would be great.
How about now?
Yes. So I
Great.
think what I'd like to see is I think there's a screen for system preferences where you can show us how the roles of an individual can be assigned within a project.
Okay, so once again, here is a view with the project list, our dashboard. And if I go to the organization menu, I can do some more with the particular organizations and projects depending of my permissions. And this particular case, the organization SimLab, I can take a look at the users which are involved in this organization.
Mhm.
Also, I can create the teams. I can create teams template. I can take a look at the description of the roles. I mean, the basic
Yes.
admin project and so on. But also there is a projects menu here, and I can go to the project dashboard and see some more details, some more organization details of this project. So I have a list of the members, I have the list of the public links, teams, and for the user, I can set up the privileges for this particular project. So we are talking
this
only
is the screen that I was looking for, where it's a very granular.
Exactly.
So I could imagine there's a default setting, but if I want to override the default, this is the screen to do that.
That's right. That's right. So I can set up almost every action in the system for basic user on the project level.
Does this also apply at the organization level?
No, it's only for the project.
Okay.
For the
So for
organization
particular
level,
project, yeah. So for a particular project, if you want to turn on and off the ability to change the status of a note, that can be done in that Teams template.
For example, the Teams template are more for the bigger groups of users with the same level of the privileges. But if I would like to change something for the one user in my project, I can do this from the project level and change this level of permissions using those menu I just showed you.
Okay, awesome. So that would be you noticed. Let's see. Could I trouble you to take it off the screen share?
Sure.
So you noticed, for example, I'm the electrician in the field, and I keep changing the status to completed, and go, no, it's not completed. I don't want to let them do that. I want them to send me a note that says it's completed. And as the project manager, I'm going to change that item to say it's completed.
Yes, it's possible.
Okay. You covered a lot today. Before we say bye, is there anything else that you want to show or tell us on how to get started with SimLab Stages?
I think that I show you the most important steps and features in our solution. So I think that we learn how to create organization, set up project, adding scans, synchronize those scans, also adding the nodes, and we touched some additional informations and the additional setup of the organization. So that should be enough to start the adventure with Stages.
Yeah, I feel like that. By the end of this training that you've taken us through, that I feel like I have the confidence. I can go to either the SimLab website, simlabinc.com, or specifically the SimLab Stages microsite, www.sim-stages.com, and set up an account and begin using SimLab Stages with confidence. I think the only other question, my last question on this is, we've been showing the stages as being Matterport, but you could also add the BIM model. You could also add a floor plan. Is there anything different about how you would sync a BIM model to a Matterport tour? Or no, it's the same thing. Go find 3 common points within the BIM model, go find 3 common points within the Matterport tour, boom, you're synced.
In general, the way of synchronization, different types of the components, I mean the matter packs, for example, IFCs, floor plans, and the other ones, is totally the same. We have to set up 3 specific points, mark them on the component unsynchronized, and then repeat them on the component which is already synced as a reference component. So this is the way of synchronization for different components is the same. The main difference is in the version of the stages, because like I said at the beginning of our meeting, we are developing stages in 2 versions, web and desktop. The main difference between web and desktop is that in the web, we can handle only Matterport scans. In the desktop, you can use much more file formats as a components of the stages. Like I said, Matterpacks, FBX, OBJs, PDFs, SVGs, and the point clouds in the XYZ and E57 file format. Those file formats are handled by our desktop version of Stages.
And I could imagine that there's a mobile version, so that if I'm in the field and I want to take pictures and annotate, I can do that.
You can use it on your mobile devices. And what is also important, the desktop version can be used on the Windows and macOS machines, and the web version can be used on the different mobile devices on the Android and iOS system. That's no problem.
So if I'm in the field, let's say I am the electrician, I did move that electrical socket from here to there as was requested as an open pending issue. I could take a picture showing that the work has been done, and then annotate the conversation for that place, that point in that space.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's possible.
Awesome. Robert, thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you very much.
We've been visiting with SimLab Stages product owner, Robert Charlevsky. For Robert, I'm Dan Smigrod, founder of the We Get Around Network Forum, and you've been watching WGAN TV Live.